Look around and stuff. The LSD experiment. I graduated from college in 1969. I was commissioned second lieutenant in the Army, but I could take 1 year off before I went in to fulfill my commitment. And I did. I went to work at this place in Reston, Virginia. It was Department of Defense Electronics Development. Okay. I served my time there for a year. I went in the Army for 2 years. 1 year at Fort Bliss, Texas. Training and forming a new group. And almost a year, not quite, in South Korea. Okay. So in South Korea, marijuana was everywhere. And eventually heroin came in, and from people who were rotating out of Vietnam but hadn't finished their tour, and they sent them to Korea first. And it wasn't a good thing. Anyway, I come back from Korea and still living in Reston, which was a very sort of liberal, educated spot, haven in Northern Virginia at the time. It's hard to give all the cultural stuff, but if you wanted to hear Bob Dylan, you probably could hear it in just about every house in Reston, Virginia. It was a fairly young, educated children. Anyway, I didn't go looking for it. Yeah, when I came back from Korea, marijuana, yeah, and it was there. It wasn't just in South Korea. It was now in liberal Reston, Virginia. And so, yeah, I went to parties, I did some socializing, and yeah, marijuana was around. And eventually, what I'm getting to was LSD appeared on the scene. I don't know where from. I didn't go looking for it, but it appeared in my realm of awareness. And I think it was a giant LSD experiment. I don't know who ran it, but somebody did. And I think it was, I don't know, I even go far as a conspiracy theory. There was some talk at one time that LSD could change your genetic codes, and so perhaps impact future generations. And I didn't know, you know, with all the stuff about DC Comics and these various evolved humans with special skills and so on, I didn't know if perhaps that's where it all came from. The big LSD experiment of the early, like from 72 to 77, I don't know, it ran through that period. LSD was around a lot. And I knew people, I'm not saying, you know, who. I knew people who took it pretty regularly. Well, at parties to start with, but it lent itself more, you know, it had aspects to it. Visual hallucinations and all kind of expansion of awareness, like the doors of perception. You modify the perception doors and you open up yourself to all kinds of stuff. But anyway, there was a great LSD experiment at the time, and I wondered if there had been a select group picked to have this. I know that the CIA had LSD experiments, I think, in the early 60s. I know they experimented on some people. I just wondered, we were out like 20 miles from CIA headquarters in Reston. I'm sure there were CIA people living in Reston at the time. But I think it was a giant experiment. Now, all LSD wasn't the same, didn't appear in the same forms. But most of it at that point in time was very high quality, not some amateur cook was doing it. It wasn't Sandoz. Sandoz is a chemical company in Switzerland, I think, who first synthesized or created LSD as an accident, sort of. But they did then sell it. Yeah, I've seen bottles of Sandoz LSD. I don't know. Maybe they're using it now in psychiatric situations. I don't know. But at the time, I have to say, from what people tell me, that the LSD that was in from 72 to 77 was not some amateur cook's product. It took quite a bit to synthesize LSD, but a chemist could certainly do it. And I'm sure there are people who got into the business and made it and could make good money. But I'm thinking the stuff that was around in that period was either from a really good chemist somewhere, local, or from the conspiracy theory government. I don't know. Conspiracy theory. I'm not really one for conspiracy theories. But when it comes to this, I think I am. That period of time, it was so prevalent. It was literally everywhere, and I'm not sure everybody even knew about it. I certainly knew about it in Reston, but I don't know if you went to, a small town in Iowa or one in Arizona or wherever, they would even know what LSD was. I don't think it was prevalent everywhere. Certainly was in the larger cities, and everything's always in the larger cities first. But anyway, I knew a lot of people who did LSD, and it was done in groups, it was done individually, done on camping trips, done in car trips. It was done in all kinds of different situations. I do remember one time I went to a party, and it was a communal event. There must have been 7, 8 of us there, and everybody kicked the evening off with I think it was called window pane. It was a small square and clear. It was called window pane LSD. Everybody started off with that. And I don't know, some period of time later, what happened in that particular case was you could hear everybody else's thoughts, which I always thought would be beneficial. We have trouble communicating with each other. But what if you could hear what other people are actually thinking? Then you could really know what they're thinking and you could respond appropriately. Well, no, you don't want to know what other people are really thinking. No, you want them to put the filters culturally defined or whatever, however the filtering is constructed. Parents, I don't know what, religion. The filtering's on the thoughts before they come out the mouth hole. Okay? I learned that one right there. It was frightening that you knew, that everybody else knew what you were thinking. And no. That was, I don't know, Todd Dockstader. Well, I think he's a German, could be from the Netherlands, I don't know. He had some strange music. It was called something about water. I don't know. It had to do with water. Water dripping and water running through pipes and that sort of thing. And that's what was playing in the background. I don't know where it came from. I eventually looked it up, and I don't think I ever had an album of his work, but I did have some of his recordings. Anyway, that was playing in the background. And it wouldn't surprise me the whole thing wasn't taped by somebody. And facial expressions analyzed and whatever else. The part of a communal LSD experiment. The experiment. There were experiments. I never could light fire with my mind, no matter what I did. Superheroes do it all the time now. Watched one the other day, Fireman or something. Um, I don't know the idea behind the experiment. Perhaps it was going to enhance mental ability of some kind. Maybe it did. How would I know? Just by what people told me. I don't know. It might have, but anyway, I'm sure there was an LSD experiment conducted by somebody. Perhaps the universe. I don't hear about LSD much now. Perhaps it's still around. Probably is. I don't know who's manufacturing it, who's making it. It has to be a good chemist to do it. I've also heard stories that they cut it with all kind of other stuff, which I don't know why you would even cut anything with LSD. The dosages back then, I don't know. These are street drugs, supposedly. Again, with a conspiracy thought in mind, they may have been at weighted dosages, and I don't know. It would be interesting if I could ever see an FBI file or something like that to see if the people I associated with, if there was any notes and references to that, or it'd be really interesting to see reports that came out of the LSD experiment in Reston, Virginia from 1972 to 1977, or thereabouts. To see those reports and if there was anything concluded at all. I'm not aware of anything bad that ever happened to people that took LSD repeatedly. I'm not aware of that. I am aware that knew some people had bad trips, and that wasn't good, and that probably turned them off the whole experience and never did it again, so they probably weren't a good subject for the conspiracy theory LSD test, or maybe it was. It would have eliminated those people who couldn't do it. I never thought about it that way. Maybe it also tagged people who could do it. Maybe they were good candidates for CIA agents or some other thing. I don't know. I know you'll never get a politician to say that him or her took LSD, or that somebody was part of the great Reston, Virginia, 1972 to 1977 LSD experiment. Now, cultural, government, or universe. Chemistry, everything evolves. It's here because of evolution. We evolved, mentally evolved, things off of our mental evolved. LSD evolved out of chemistry and all of our other knowledge and everything else. And so the universe put it out there. Everything that the universe puts out is not necessarily good. Radiation from the sun can kill you if you were close enough to it. Sending a man to Mars is going to be dangerous because space is full of really high energy, nasty, energetic particles and waves and cellular destruction. Okay, so not everything is the universe comes up with is a good thing. Dinosaurs and asteroids, that what they said took the dinosaurs out. I'm not sure LSD, if it came from the universe, was a good thing. I'm just saying that's one possibility. The universe allowed it to be. The universe ran an experiment in Reston, Virginia, 1972 to 1978. What did it do to people? Did it do anything to people? Did it have any lasting effects? All that sort of stuff. Anyway, this is about conspiracy theory. I don't know. I'm sure, again, I never even, it's just formulated today to me that a conspiracy theory and that somebody was behind the whole thing. It appeared out of nowhere. It lasted for a while. It was very high quality, good chemist. Whoever it was a good chemist. And those people who it was available to experienced it, what happened in their life is following. Maybe it's still going. Maybe the whole experiment is still in process. And people who were involved in the early Reston experiment had been tracked this whole time. I don't know. Nothing's out of the realms of possibility when it comes to the government. Now, on the evolutionary scale, if the universe did the experiment, I don't know. Not enough generations have passed to see if it had any superpowers impact on evolution, on genetic changes, enhancement of human abilities. I don't know. It hasn't been enough generations, I don't think. I was made aware recently that genetics can change by environment, even in humans, from one generation to the next. Now, see, I thought that was not true. I thought it took multiple generations of a certain situation and environmental factors and, radiations and pollution and diet and all that kind of things that would impact. Like thumb's not going to disappear or whatever in 5 generations. The tail disappeared somehow, but anyway, it's going to take a long time, I think, for the LSD experiment in Reston, 1972 to 1977, 78, to play out on a genetic scale. If it ever does, how would anybody know? Somebody's tracking it. Somebody's paying attention. Everything is being watched and recorded now. That's the secret of the whole thing. You've got to know what you're doing and what you're not doing. Up here, I keep forgetting. Anyway, this is Ron's conspiracy theory. The great LSD experiment on the educated and upper class moneyed people in Reston, Virginia, Northern Virginia, 20 miles from the CIA headquarters in 1972 to 1978. Now, it might be a little earlier because I was only there, started in 1972, but, and I don't know exactly when it ended, I'm just saying 78 for whatever reason, but, Osley, who was the Timothy Leary. Where is Timothy Leary when you need him the most? He was the one who championed the idea of LSD. This is Uncle Ron and stuff, and I'm going to finish it in the dark today because I really am in the dark. This is the 15th of September, 2023.